Good morning, Patricia. In this show, basically, Uruguay, where you belong, is one of the leading producer and exporter of felts all across globe. And this felt is best quality one. Mostly it is used in luxury cars and aircrafts as well in different other industries all across globe. So Uruguay itself is treasure for entire world in terms of felt. And here Patricia is doing very well in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of artistic explorations and all. So she's been invited into the session. And so I welcome her.
Thank you.
Please tell us about your early academic and professional upbringing backgrounds, as well as please include you had faced any struggle in early stage.
Okay, I started studying architecture. I studied for 2 years, but it was like a huge scale for me. I did not like that big scale. So I went into interior design and I started working with making lamps and smaller things with wood.
Okay.
So I did not know anything about wool yet. But then I met an old woman from our countryside. I live in Montevideo, which is a capital city. She lives in Florida. She was about 65 years old, and she had all her life worked with wool. She was a weaver. We started a project together. She was very interesting in introducing felt to her work. So she sent me from Florida to Montevideo some merino wool top, and she said, please, Patricia, you are in Montevideo, try to find out how to make felt so that we can make a project together. Once I received that little package of wool, white wool, merino, and had it in my hands, I felt like a very special emotion because it took me back to my very early days when my grandmother was alive. She was almost 100 years old.
Wow.
She came from Spain to Uruguay when she was very young and a small town. And she had sheep. They had sheep there.
Oh.
I used to comb my grandmother's hair, which was absolutely white. And she would tell me when I was a little girl the stories about her childhood in Spain. And when I received the wool in my hands, it was like having again the hair of my grandmother, you know. It was like I felt immediately in love with wool. But I started like trying to find out how to make felt. Here there are some excellent felters, but their workshops are very expensive. So I could not afford to learn with them. So I had a friend in England, and she was very generous, and she sent me some instructions. And so I learned to make little balls, little felt balls. With her help, she sent mails. She just explained me in mails, and I started learning. And it was wonderful because though I didn't have the money to go to a workshop and study in that way, but someone from England started to teach me with mails. And we were able to make a little project with these women from Florida, which was a sort of a small tree for Christmas. And I wanted to learn more. So I wanted to learn how to make a piece of cloth. My friend from England, I asked her, could you tell me? And so I started layers laying the wool, and I got more wool from ships from Uruguay, top combed wool and tops. And I started working with the wool I could get from everywhere to practice. And 1 year after, I went to a little workshop with 2 teachers from the industrial design school of Uruguay. And then there I learned to work a little bag. Here, people who made felt 12 years ago used to make a sort of Nuno felt, very beautiful, but Uruguay is a very cold country. It's long winter, very wet. We have no snow, but it's really wet and cold. So I started thinking, why making Nuno felt and making very expensive garments when we live in a very cold country, you know? And felt is really useful to in winter. So I started making gloves and kind of these
neckbands,
small scarves and soles for the feet. You know, when I got wool from, not from Merino or Cordial, but wool from producers of Uruguay that sometimes grow sheep for the meat, not for the wool, you know. And so they have the wool and they say, I have wool, do you want it? I give you. So I learned to wash it, to prepare it. And with that wool, which is like too hard for the using on the skin, I started making these little kind of things, just ornaments, you know. And so I also felt in love with the possibilities of making like
golden spiral.
Yes, and like little sculptures. I also made small rugs, and when I felt like prepared enough, I started looking for a place to sell what I was doing. And here in Uruguay, you can go to fairs on the street, to street markets, you know. But 10 years ago, my children were very little, they were 5 years. They learned to felt with me. They were always together with me. So they learned to make felt balls. They loved to be with the water and the soap. So in that sense, it was wonderful. Because when I worked with wood, you know, I had to work alone. My children could not be with me, you know, there was a lot of noise. It was the smells of the products. But wool, water, and soap was great. So I was really glad to find something to do while being with the children. And so I already knew hand craftsmen from the Uruguayan Association of Artisans. And it is an association which is almost 40 years old. It was founded in 1983 by a group of artisans who decided to look for a place, not for a market, for a street marketplace, but a place under a house. To be able to sell the whole day, no matter if it rains, you know. They got together and founded this association. And once a year, there is a call to new artisans. So I presented my work, I was accepted. Then I had to show how I made each thing. I had like an exam, let's say. I had to go with the wool and soap and water and show, because we have different commissions. So one accepts you, but there's another that has to see you working. because the first condition is that each artisan makes all the process, does not buy anything, you know. So in that sense, it's really serious because you have three handcraftsmen, women looking at you working, you know. But I was accepted. So I started selling and participating of the association. We have a very nice house, big house downtown in the center of the city. Each artisan has a let's say like a table, a stand where you put your things to sell. And instead of going every day to sell, we take turns and we go once a week to the
One
place.
artisan for a week. Okay.
Yes, we sell our things and 11 more artisans. So we are about 17 artisans in the house, you know, and we are always taking turns. So the idea is that the artisan has time to work in his workshop and only goes once a week and sells his things and the others, you know. We have one cashier, but what you sell goes to your account, let's say. And we can take out the money of the sales once a week. I started in summer. It was hot when I was accepted. So until winter came, it was really hard because I didn't sell enough, because when it's hot in summer,
purchase failed. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing was that people were used more to this sort of nano felt, very expensive, but they did not know what felt was. It was like rather strange. So I had that like little problem of telling my handcraft mates, it's wool, this is the way I do it. It was like very exotic, let's say. As years go by, felt was like a fashion. It started being more and more known. So it's like first time it was like people asking, what is this? You know? So that was sort of difficult for me. But when winter came, I started selling the gloves, the soles for the feet. I didn't have big amounts of sales, you know, but I was very happy because it was appreciated. For example, many people, grown-up people, old people would buy my things because they are the ones that suffer more the cold weather. And the world and our country, Uruguay, was in a better shape than now, you know. But you have to be in the place and wait since people know you and they, you know, you start having sort of. So let's say that the main difficult I found was that thing of explaining what was and having people used to, you know, not seeing that it was so strange. But I was very happy because I managed to make small garments, not very expensive, so I managed to sell. Our association also gives us the opportunity to work for others, to work in collaboration. We have workshops where artisans teach the people who like to go different techniques. So it was very nice because I got together with people who use looms, weave, you know, and that was very nice. It is very nice. I mean, we tend to work together and join knowledge from different.
From each other.
The main difficult to say is that it was not fashionable yet here So it was like, this is strange. But here in Uruguay, we really have more sheep than people, you know.